All right, so let's take a look at your fourth programming assignment. So in the folder programming assignments, you'll see program 4, weather reporting. If anybody downloaded this earlier, or downloaded any of the files earlier, I've updated them to have camel case names. So if you have those earlier versions and you want to use that, that's fine. Or I suggest going with the newer version, the camel case names. All right, so there's 3 files here. There's program4.pdf, those are the instructions. There's a weather visual updated, that's a diagram, just like what we just saw a minute ago to help you. And weather help updated, that's some code to help you get started with. Okay. So let's take a look at let's look at the assignment first. So this is not going to be due on the 4th. This will be due, we said we're going to make it due 2 weeks from today on the 11th. That'll be the last day that we meet for the final exam part. All right. I like this program because it forces you to use everything, pretty much everything that we've done this semester. So here's the explanation of it. So it says, you've been assigned to work with a group of scientists who are studying weather patterns in a foreign country. The scientists collect information about the temperature, rainfall amounts, and general weather situations, such as is it cloudy, windy, sunny, or whatever. So a total of 6 temperature readings are taken throughout each day. The scientists studied the weather for a total of 7 days, and they put the data that they collected into a file. Your job is to write a C++ program that will read the data from the input file and output the process results to an output file. So here's your input. Your input's going to look like this. Okay. So what do we have? So the first number on each row states what day it is. So is it day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. The second number tells the rainfall amount for that day. So how much did it rain? Notice that those numbers have decimals in them. So those are going to be doubles. And then the next 6 numbers are your temperature readings. So they took temperature readings throughout the day, right? 6 different temperature readings. So on day 1, sometime in the morning it was 70, and then the last temperature reading was 90, and so forth. And the last value on each row is a character that tells you what the general weather description for the day was. And so we're simplifying things. W means windy, S is sunny, R is rainy, C is cloudy. Okay. So your program should store the values for the day, rainfall, and general weather condition into separate one-dimensional arrays. So each will have 7 elements. The temperatures will all be inside of a 2-dimensional array. So all these things will be in a 2-dimensional array. The average temperature, so what do you have to do with that? See, the average temperature for each day should be calculated and stored in a one-dimensional double array. We'll make them, you don't have to do it float. And the average temperature for the entire week should also be calculated. The program should also figure out the high and the low temperatures for each day, as well as the overall high and the low for the week. Store the daily highs and lows in separate one-dimensional arrays. The overall high and the low should be variables. And the total, one more thing, the total rainfall for the entire week should also be calculated. Okay? So to help you visualize all this, there's this little diagram. So weather visual updated, you can download that. You can print it out if that helps you as well. So it's basically just a little spreadsheet that I'd put together that shows everything. So it's similar to the Star Wars program that we looked at, but there's really no column processing stuff. It's just row processing. So you're going to store the day into an array called day. You're going to have a rainfall array. Here's the two-dimensional array to store all the temperatures. I named it temps. Condition is a character array to store the general weather condition. And then you've got all these: temp sum, temp average, temp high, and temp low. Those are the names that I chose. And then overall temp sum, overall temp average, overall temp high, and overall temp low. And then the rainfall sum is just the sum of this one-dimensional array. And your output, let's see, let me get back to that. Your output needs to look something like this, okay? So you're going to have a table, but notice it says like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the days. So what I want you to do, I want you to use a switch statement to output the day of the week that corresponds to the day number. So 1 is Sunday, 2 is Monday, and so forth. Okay. And over here on the condition, notice it actually has the word windy, sunny, rainy, or cloudy. So on that, instead of outputting the condition character, I want you to use a switch statement to output the general weather status. So if the weather is W, you'll output windy. You have to use at least 2 functions other than main on this. I've already kind of set all that stuff up for you. And output your results to an output file. And here's the overall thing. So here's the rainfall sum, overall temp average, overall temp high, and overall temp low. I didn't ask you to actually output the temp sums, but you had to figure out the temp sums to get the averages. So how do you do this? So I have another file here, weather help updated. And you should use this to start off with, right? So again, it's just like with the Star Wars program, you might have to copy and paste that code. Let me do that real quick. If you're using Dev C++, you just have to create a new file. So replace all that with what I downloaded. Okay. So you need to create your input file as well. You'll probably have to go in and do new file. What did I give you a name? I didn't do that part, did I? No, you'll have to do that. So probably something like let's see, you'll want to copy and paste all that input. I think I can do that from a PDF. I would leave my cursor there at the end of the last line. So you want to save that as something. Oh, I added another line anyway. Oh well. Something like weather underscore input.txt is a good name. Weather input. Okay. So you've got your input file and you got your source code file. So that's first thing I would do to kind of get things set up. So let's just kind of look through this and if there's anything I need to explain, I'll do it. So you have some comments at the top, so just fill those out. I went ahead and I declared a couple of constants for you. So just like with the Star Wars program, I've got num days and num temps, right? So num days is kind of like num row over there in the Star Wars program. Num temps, that's kind of like num call over in the Star Wars program. So you've got 7 days and 6 temperatures, right, for each day. I went ahead and declared all the stuff for you. Your prototypes will go here. So here's the day array. So again, all this code just declares all of these things. Okay. So you got the day array, the rainfall array. Look at the sizes. They're num days, right, which is 7. Temps, so 7 by 6, right? Condition is size 7. You got your temp average, temp sum, temp high, and temp low, all of size 7. And then these things are just variables. Rainfall sum, overall temp average, overall temp sum, overall temp high, and overall temp low. So, those are the names that I've chosen there. So then you'll want to declare and open your files, and then call your functions in the appropriate order, and then close your files. Don't forget to do that. So I set up a lot of the functions for you already. So here's get input. So you'll have to send in the day array, rainfall array, the temps array, the condition array, and the input file. So assuming that you name your input file in file there. And then I have some comments here to help guide you. So again, your outer loop is your row loop. And so on this program, you're not going to be doing any column processing. You're just doing row processing. So your outer loop is going to be your row loop. Your inner loop is going to be your column loop. So the main thing to watch out for here is you have to read things in the correct order. So you have to grab the day first, and then the rainfall, and then you'll start up your inner loop at that point and pick up the 6 temps, and then pick up the condition. So you have to make sure that you have your loops in the correct order. So that's what I mean here. So input the day, subrow, rainfall subrow, and then start up your inner loop to get the temps. One thing to watch out for is make sure that you've got your loops going through the correct number of times. Your outer loop needs to go through num days times, which is 7, and your inner loop needs to go through num temps times 6, right? If you accidentally have your outer loop going through 6 times and your inner loop going through 7 times or something off like that, you're not going to get an error on that or anything like that. In C++, it's up to you as the programmer to not go outside the bounds of the array. So if you had your loop set up wrong and you started reading stuff in, like your outer loop might go through 6 times or something like that, you might end up putting stuff there, but nothing over here. But then you might end up putting stuff here, which you didn't reserve that memory. So C++ will actually let you do stuff like that. It's C++ and like the C language gives you a lot of control over memory locations and what you put in memory. So it's powerful in that way, but that's also a potential weakness. I was reading an article about viruses and stuff like that, and they were basically talking about C and C++, the language, how that's a way that people, hackers or whoever, virus creators, can target things, or the potential bugs by software developers to not handle those things. Anyway, that's a different topic. So that's get input. And so then, to handle these things, temp sum and temp average, I set up a function to do that. Calc temp sum average. And I just put, this function is going to be very similar to calc row sum average in the example program. So all you should have to do is copy and paste some things from the Star Wars program. But you'll have to change some names, right? Instead of scores, the array will be temps. Instead of row average and row sum, the names of those things will be row will be temp average and temp sum. And your loops, instead of num row and num col, will be like num days, num temps. So you'll have to change some names, but it works pretty much exactly the same way. And then to find the highs and the lows, I've got a function here, find temp high low. And this function is going to be very similar to find row high low. And then the overall things, find overall temp stuff. It's going to be very similar to find overall stuff in the example program. All right. And then this one is a little different. We didn't do this in the Star Wars program. Calc rainfall sum. That's just a matter of finding the sum of a one-dimensional array. If you need to go back to the Nolan Ryan program, you could look at that one, because we found the sum of a one-dimensional array in that program. So don't make this one harder than it is. Calc rainfall sum. That function will be pretty short. And then output results. I did not do the parameter list for you on output results. So but basically you'll have to send in everything that you need to output. So that is what is it? You'll have to send in the day array, the rainfall array, the temp average array, the temp high, temp low, the condition array, rainfall sum, overall temp average, overall temp high, and overall temp low. Anything that you output, you have to send in. And I have some comments to guide you on that. Since you're not outputting the actual temps array, you won't need a nested loop structure, inner loop. You'll just have your row loop is the only thing you'll need. All right, so use the comments to help guide you. All right, anybody have any questions about that? Take it one function at a time, okay? I strongly advise that. Don't try to write this entire program before you have part of it working, right? So, and also, do not put this program off until the day before, okay? Because this program is it's gonna take you a little bit longer than the others, right? So you don't want to put that off to the last minute. In fact, you should get started on this week, right? But the first thing you should do is get your file set up and get your getInput function working and test that out to make sure that it's working. Then once you know that that's working, move on to calc temp sum average and get that working. And then once you get that going, and with no errors and everything, move on to the next one. All right. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop this. Oh, he's got a cramp. Sorry. Oh, man. It really hurts. All right, I think I'm good. All right. I should probably cut that out of the video. Let's see.